So I went to hair school, and I chose hair school just because it was like $16,000, and it was artistic, and I felt like I could be like more of like my personality. Like I just never saw myself wearing like not tennis shoes and crop tops. So so I went to school, and then I was obviously pretty decent at it, and I was passionate. While I was in school, I would go to school till 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Then I would go to work. I worked at Steak and Shake, which was a very humbling job.
I worked the whole time you were in
hair school. Yeah. I worked the whole time. And so I would work till like 4 a.m. I would go straight to Steak and Shake, and then I'd work till 4 a.m. And then I would go back to school at like 8 to 10 a.m., just depending.
How long did you do this for?
School, I graduated within a year because I was like not gonna like prolong that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because some people make it like a 2-year thing, and that was not for me. So then I did that, and then so when I graduated, my school was paid off in cash. And while I was in school, my parents actually, it was like one of the best things that they had me do was they had me take my money and start investing it when I turned 18.
Okay.
So basically like half of my paychecks they took and put it in an investment account.
From Steak and Shake?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was only making like, I remember working at Steak and Shake, I made $24,000, and which like isn't a lot of money when you're like investing it and paying for school and your cell phone bill and whatever else you're going to do with your life.
I mean, that's pretty much everything at that point.
Yeah. So, but oddly enough, like it didn't really bother me. I felt like I still had like a lot of money. Like it's just funny how like, when I say more money, more problems.
You feel like you're frugal?
Oh yeah. Like I definitely like, I don't know if like frugal was the word. I never lived like a luxury life. So like being frugal when like you haven't lived luxury, like, you know, so I feel like I did what I wanted to do. And if I wanted more, I worked more.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And that was, you think that you got that mindset from your parents like telling you, or you just like going out to work and seeing that you had to do that?
I think because my parents never gave me anything, like in the sense of like monetary. Like my parents did a lot for me, but I knew that like I couldn't ask them like, hey, I want to go do this. Can you pay for this? So I knew if I like really wanted to do something, like I was going to have to figure it out for myself. So, I mean, because there were a couple times like I was worried about paying my school payment because I also had a trainer like in the gym. So I paid $300 a month for that, which is a lot of money when you're like making no money, you know?
Yeah, I don't.
So I don't know how I don't know how I did it.
Well, I mean, technically like 12,000.
Yeah. But like, you know, you didn't eat out. You didn't like, I didn't have fancy clothes. I shopped at thrift stores. Like I didn't have fancy purses. My vacation, I remember, was like, we saved up all of our change, like any change we found on the ground. And our vacation was $600 at Myrtle Beach. Where like, you know, like your vacations now, like you go and like people put it on a credit card or which no judgment, but it's like your vacations now are like, oh, we're going to Bahamas for the week, not Myrtle Beach for 4 days, you know?
And that was with your dad? Or that was just you?
Oh, when I went on vacation?
Like, yeah.
I went with my husband, but at the time he was my, we actually got engaged that weekend. So,
wow.
Yeah. So I got engaged at like 19 years old.
Dang.
Yeah. So.
How long have y'all known each other?
We've known each other since we were like 15.
Been together since then?
Yeah. Yep.
Dang.
Crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah. So that's actually like, I think that's something that helped me as well is that I always had like, I moved out young. So I had a spouse that like split the bills with. Like I knew he wasn't going to be a flaky roommate. Like, you know, he paid his end of the bills. I paid mine. I didn't have a credit card. Yeah.
He's going through all this with you.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people don't get married to like later in life. And so that makes it kind of challenging. Like when you're trying to like get ahead because especially if you're only making 24,000, you're living on your own. Like that's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so graduated school, and it's funny because like at first I was like, I always thought I was going to be a professor or an attorney or whatever. And at first I would get embarrassed to tell people like I do hair because I feel like as a female, like we want to like, I want to like tell people like what they can do with being females. Like we can do anything, right?
Yeah.
And so like, being in a career where like we get judged on like how intelligent we are, like I mean I hate to say it, but a lot of female hairdressers say some funny things, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was very like adamant in the beginning of like trying to preach like what I did and talking about my job. Trying to convince people into like this is like a big thing. And like, you know, now you realize in life, like, I don't really care, like, you know, what, I know how much money I make. I know I have investments. I know, like, so now, like, I just tell people, like, I sell shampoo for a living. If you want to judge me on that, go for it. But
I like that, though.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's a big part, because like when you're like that young adult age, you like do things because you care what people think.
Yeah.
Then you just like get older, and then you really don't care, and you realize none of that stuff matters.
Yeah.
So you like graduated hair school, and then you went to, that's when you started working at that salon.
Yep.
And then got fired.
Yep.
Now you're at Salon Lofts. I mean, 8 to 10 years, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you have a plan? Like, did you know, like, when I'm at Salon Lofts, my plan is to be owning my own salon or doing all this? Like,
definitely. When I went to Salon Lofts, I had like a goal. Like, ever since I started doing hair, I was like, I want to make 6 figures in 5 years. And that was my goal, or at least bring in 6 figures.
That was when you graduated hair school?
When I started working at Pen Zones, that's when I set that goal.
Okay.
So I was like, once I get my chair, I want to make 6 figures in 5 years, because I knew like no one was really doing that. Most people were doing like 50,000, like, you know what I mean?
That's what most hairdressers were doing back then?
At like a higher end salon. Like, they were probably at 50,000 by 5 years. So,
jeez.
So when I started my own business, I just basically sat down and like did the numbers for myself and figured out, like, if I take this many people, I can make this amount. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one thing I did, it's kind of funny listening to your interview with your barber. He did a lot of similar things that I did that I was like, oh, I respect that.
Like what?
Like, I think he said he passed out like stuff with his name on and a coupon. Didn't he say that?
And he had he was giving out free haircuts.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. So I did something similar. I actually, like, I lived kind of in this area, and I passed out 50% off coupons with a picture of me and like my prices. Yeah. And I went and, like, which is actually illegal, I put them in people's mailboxes. So didn't know that. But I basically printed out 200 of them, and I put them in Chase Bank. I put them like everywhere. I put them in gyms.
Did that work for you?
Yeah. So out of 200 that I passed out, I got 13 people, which I thought was a really high percentage. Yeah. And so my thought was, even if I got 5 people, I had no clients when I started Salon Lofts. I had 0 clients.
Dang. So you don't have to show proof of like income, or like you already have a clientele base?
They wanted to, like, they said like I need to show like clientele, but I think that my personality, like, just kind of, they knew it would work.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so then I started. So I still have like 1 or 2 clients from those advertisements, and that's like 10 years ago.
That's crazy.
Which is like insane. Like, so I'm really like appreciative for those people. But yeah, so I passed it out, and I think my first year doing hair, I did. I think it was like, I posted it the other day, like 14,000.
This was your first year at Salon Lofts?
Yeah, Salon Lofts. I did 14,000. No, just what I brought in.
Gross.
So like, I brought in $14,000. I made nothing, you know, with the rent. Like, but I did 14,000, and then I still worked at Steak and Shake. So what was embarrassing?
That's how you were surviving.
Yes. So I would like go to Steak and Shake, and then I'd go to work, and then like my clients would be at Steak and Shake. Do you know like what a humbling moment that is? Like, to serve someone fries, and then like, oh, I'm gonna do your hair, and I need to act like I'm professional. Yeah. Like, you know.
Do you feel like they actually thought that, or was that just like something you were feeling?
Oh, I mean, they had to have thought that. I'm sure. Like, I mean, but I didn't even care, because it's like, if you're gonna shit on someone's grind,
that is
like,
true.
Literally, like, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like,
I know exactly.
Like, shit on my grind now, catch me in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So so second year, I'm just going off the cuff of like what I remember. I think I did like about 40,000. The next year I did about 50. There were 3 years where I only increased by like 8 to 10,000. But it was like 50, and then 78, and then I hit. I'm 90% positive I hit the 100,000 at my 5-year mark, and then from 5 to 6 years, it was something like that. Like, I went from 100,000 to 180,000, and I went from 180,000 to 240,000, and then COVID hit. Like, and I'm just kind of going off rough estimate of years. COVID hit. my business went all the way to like, I think 150,000. I went from my highest year of like over 200 grand to 150 grand.
Jeez.
And then this past year, I'll be just almost at 300,000.
That's crazy.
If not, I think I probably hit it.
Why do you think that it was consistently growing every year?
I think my understanding of people really helped. My understanding of people, goals, and business, I think it's a trifecta, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, like, you can know numbers, you can know business, but if you don't know people, you don't know retention, right?
Right, because then they won't come back to you because they don't trust you. Or
yeah, and I think everything is about, like, obviously, like, I do great hair, but a lot of people do great hair.
Yeah,
so I think that sets myself apart from the person next door. And I think for me, it's I care about people.
Right.
I want people to be successful. I have this innate drive to like want you to do well in whatever, like just like you.
That's
like
100% true.
Like I want to, and I'm not saying this for clout. It's genuinely who I am. It's of my being. Like I would sit with someone for an hour and talk about whatever I can to help them grow, whatever that means mentally, physically, like monetary, because I just want success for people. And so I think because it's so real, like people read real, like you know what I mean? 100%. Like people seek out fake, but people seek out real first.
Yeah.
So
and I think people can sense it.
Totally. So I think like my clients, my friends, like all the people that come to me, I think they're like my biggest advocates because they know like my heart is with them. I care about them. Like if they go to me or if they don't, I still like have love for them.
Right.
And I think that that's the driving force to retention for me.
Yeah.
And then I am obviously talented, so I can back that. And then my understanding of numbers, basically like the way I set it up was when I started doing hair, I targeted a certain group of market where, so for example, fitness. I have a lot of fitness clients. I have a lot of fitness influencers. And the reason why is I was training when I was in hair school. I worked out with a bunch of bodybuilders. I got in that niche, and then I was at the right time in the right place. Instagram took off. And then I had done a couple people like at random. They were really happy. They knew I was committed to them. And then those people started talking to their friends and sending their influencers. And because it's such a small town, like in Columbus, those people started sending. And so then it just became a thing.
So it spread fast after that.
And so then I think because I targeted a small market, like a lot of people knew my name really fast. And so I think that really helped like grow our business and then be able to funnel like clients to my employees and all that.
Did you feel like targeting that niche or like that market was like your goal, or goal was like to find influencers and things like that, or you just like, this is a space I'm already in and I
didn't
like
really
it.
care to find influencers. That naturally happened, but then once that naturally happened, I was like, oh, this is making my job easier because I don't really have to post. I don't really have to like.
It's so powerful. To have one.
So like it was really nice to allow that to like naturally happen. But yeah, and I think before I started getting a lot of influencers, I was a national educator for a company, and so I traveled a lot, and I think that helped build my brand, and so it made me like look a very certain way on social media.
Made you seem like way bigger.
Yeah. And I think that that's the power of influence and the power of like branding is so important nowadays when you're building your own business and building clientele. Because I hate to say it, but people buy into it, right?
Yeah,
like sure. When they say sex sells, like branding sells. So.
Oh, for sure. I think that's why like even off-market deals for like Nike and stuff like that are going through the roof, and it's just because people like more people care about it.
Totally.
Was that something you were like always aware of starting out, like branding and stuff like that?
I think like I feel like just like knowing what's cool, like knowing what's in, like, and having a drive to just want to make money. Like I think those are the two things. I think a lot of people can know what's cool, but then to have the drive to put yourself out there and humble yourself, because to send a message, I mean, I've done so much free hair, like your barber, so much free hair, and I think like doing like events, and I did a lot of like charity events and things like that. I think doing things like that, I knew that my brand would put itself out there, and I knew I'd look like bigger than what I was before, you know.
Because now you have the time to do charity events.
Yeah, I had all the time in the world, you know, where like now, like I'm so busy, I don't like, so, yeah, I think it's really just knowing, just like, I really just think it's the grind. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you?
I think it is for sure. I think I make decisions now based off of like what feels right. I don't even know how to explain it. I haven't found a good way to like verbalize it, but like if something feels like it could benefit more people, then I would definitely do it.
Totally.
Or if I feel like I can help someone in any way, I don't really even think about it coming back to me because I don't know how it's gonna come back to me. I just know like someone's gonna feel better after I do this for them.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like what, law of attraction?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like what you're working off of.
Yeah.
Like I totally think that. But I guess like my thing is like where they say like, I feel like so many people are so afraid to put themselves out there and like, and just like continue like when they fall down, it's like get back up. And I know that's like so oversaid, but like it's so true.
It is.
Do you know how many times like I like literally had like no money in my bank account? I remember I screenshot like my bank account like 5 years ago, and I'm like, fuck this. Like I will never see like $6 in my account again.
I've done that so many times.
You know?
Yeah, and I've like screenshotted like when I started getting credit cards. I've always been like good with my credit cards, but when I started having a family, this was recently, and I was like, I think I was like $16,000 in credit card debt.
Oh, I believe it.
And I was just like, I had no idea where it came from, and I didn't even have close to enough to pay it off.
Yeah.
And you know that interest rate is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that kept me going. But I don't.
Totally.
I mean, I have different reasons that keep me going every time. But it definitely sucks. But like, what kept you going? Was it like the love for hair, or like you just knew you were gonna make it? You just had to keep going, like.
Yeah, I think I look at everything as like an opportunity and like an investment into something else. So like debt for me doesn't scare me because I mean. At this point, I'm probably the highest debt I've ever been, but I'm also the highest income I've ever been. So I think a lot of people they're afraid to take risks because like the higher the risk, like, you know, like the more trouble you can get yourself in, but also the higher the reward. Right. So, and I think people have to look at it in the sense of like, okay, I'm going to take on this debt, but if I'm making, for example, $300,000, but I'm $20,000 in debt. $20,000 is nothing because if you're making $300,000, or let me say, bringing in $300,000, you're making $20,000 a month. Yeah. So if you technically wanted to pay that $20,000 in debt off, you could really like stay focused. Growing up, I did Dave Ramsey. My parents talked to me a lot about that. We're just paying cash for everything, and so. Anyway, if you really wanted to, you could probably pay $20,000 off if you're making $300,000 in less than 6 months, easy, right? Yeah, so I think like my drive for things is, I feel like I'm like kind of similar to how you are. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I get to a point where I hit all my goals and I don't know necessarily where I want to go with it because I'm happy and I'm content. I want more, but I'm not going to force anything. So I feel like I will take it on when it's necessary or something comes up where I'm like, you know what, this is good. Like right now I have 2 employees. If you would have asked me 8 years ago, I never wanted to open up a salon. I never wanted to like, but then I found like if I had an assistant who could help me, I could be home more with my kids. Like, you know what I mean? And if I did this, so I think it's just like organically like happening where I thought I was fine being at Salon Lofts. And I realized like my life is changing and evolving. Like, regardless. So like obviously the goals to be better are always like there, but I think as your life evolves, your goal should always like be like ever changing, evolving, and you know. So I think like right now the future for me is I just want to be around like awesome people that are happy and that want to fill my cup up. I'm at a place where I'm fine with like the money I'm making. If I make more, great. If I don't, great. But if I have a future assistant, then amazing. But it has to fit the mold. I'm not going to force anything. I don't want. I always tell people like I'm not gonna like if you don't want to be here, like I don't want you to be here. You know what I mean? And that's. I mean, you know the power of like who you're around. Like for sure.